Yo. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of RareFUD Radio. It's your boy Dorian here, hosting today's episode because every day is a holiday. And unfortunately, our boy Bison's out, headed to New York, all you guys out there. So he's not able to join today, but he might chime in via phone. We don't know yet. But anyway, we got our boy Joe here. He might be a little late because it wouldn't be RareFUD if Joe didn't show up a little late. And we have a special guest today with us. I'd like to welcome on the stage our boy JS. How you doing today, JS?
How we doing, Bison? Dorian, how we doing?
Oh, it's good, man. It's good. I guess me being Bison isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'd rather have his hosting skills and good looks. So, I'm doing good, man. What about you?
No, I'm good. He's always been the one to intro me. So, you got that plan in the back of your head, but appreciate you having me on.
No problem, man. Thank you for coming on. Also, I'd like to apologize for the audience. We have some construction going around a little bit. So if you hear a little doot, my bad. I can't really do anything about it, but hopefully it isn't too severe to ruin your enjoyment. But let's get into the market, man. We got a lot to talk about today, dude. Not only is the crypto market moving, but we have the NFT market moving as well. And there's a whole bunch happening in the NFT market. We got Monkey DAO finally gaining the IP rights. We have Swap voting to give it over pretty much unanimously. I think even less than 1% voted against it. And we have Claynosaurus not only finally changing sardinias into eggs, but also talking about what's going to be in the NFT packs within New York, which I'm going to New York, so I'm super excited to get my hands on them. But yeah, man, I know you pretty much have a lot to say on these topics, but what do you think about the crypto market right now, man?
Yeah, I think counter-trading the timeline is such an effective move. It's kind of crazy. I think we saw people saying, oh, switch to bearish, switch to bearish, switch to bearish. And it's like when you see mass just confluence like that, somehow the market finds its way to wreck those people. And this is a nice pump on BTC over 30K, and same with alts. I think alts are starting to finally run, particularly Sol, which is nice. We always love that here. But coincidentally, usually NFT floors go down quite a bit when Sol pumps, but aside from a few collections, we're mostly staying strong, which leads me to believe that there's stronger market sentiment than normal. And that's good.
No, dude, I completely agree with you, man. When I saw Solana pump to 22, I'm like, oh, man, we're going to have a severe pullback on floors. But surprisingly, things are holding up pretty well. I mean, it kind of reminds me of a couple months ago when we had that first initial rip from, I think, like 16 to 20, 22, and then it went to rip to 25, then back down to 19. But right now it's been kind of like stabling. So maybe people have become used to the volatility that we have had in the past. And right now these massive swings or any a little bit of price increase doesn't shake people out of their positions as it would have. But I'm still not going to be too overly optimistic about the current state of the market, just because if Sol does continue to pump back to 30, I think we'll see floor prices continue to drop across these collections. But let's get into a little bit of the market overview. We always go to TXO for all our market update stats. Right now, Magic Eden has 54% of the market share. They're at 70,000 Solana volume. Tensor sitting at 38K, and Swap sitting at 15K, man. Do you think, it's crazy that Magic Eden still has a majority of the market share? Do you think that Tensor will be able to recapture some of that?
So I think something that's important to note is even if you're purchasing an NFT on Tensor, but it's listed on Magic Eden gets the volume. And I think people are still used to listing on Magic Eden, even if they're buying on Tensor, because you're always looking for liquidity when you're selling. And for a new marketplace to get in, it's very lingering because you have to basically convince the entire market that, hey, most of the liquidity is now here. Even though Tensor aggregates all the listings, you're still listed on one platform. So the incentive has been Tensor points. We don't know how those are going to roll out, but I think soon enough, Tensor's not really started their whole marketing plan in terms of their own NFTs and stuff, and kind of how this rolls out. And if you remember, very early on with Sharky, they tried a very similar thing with Fishy, and now we're finally seeing that being rolled out, very, very shortly. And I think once we get kind of more clarity on Tensor points to rewards to NFT to what the art looks like, what the whole raise and all this stuff. I think people are going to be slowly transitioning over to Tensor, and I think Tensor is a whale's game because market making for NFTs is a whale's thing.
Yeah.
If you can't kind of deal with impermanent loss, it's a very dangerous road to go down.
Mhm.
But I think particularly if Sol kind of keeps pumping and gets these narratives behind it, where it's like, oh, Fire Dancer's coming, oh, compressed NFTs, oh, super fast transactable layer, suddenly everything starts to just make sense. It's like, okay, maybe we see an influx of capital come in and NFTs just start to pump because there's so much capital coming in.
Yep. No, that was well said, man. I completely agree with you on that. I do want to hit into your point about counter trading the timeline, which kind of segues us into our first topic that we're going to talk about today, Monkey DAO, dog. Man, Monkey DAO has been down bad for what, 2-3 months now? Look, I always give an overview about the entire situation of Monkey DAO just because we have so many people come in and so many people are confused about the beginning to end of Monkey DAO. So I'm going to give you the abridged version, dog. So what happened was Solana Monkey Business launched back in summer 2021. After that, the devs rugged. So the community decided to create Monkey DAO. So when you think of Solana Monkey Business and Monkey DAO, think of them as two separate entities. Monkey DAO was the main driver behind the floor price of Monkey DAO getting it where it is today. The devs didn't do anything. They barely gave them any royalties from all their work. However, they were still able to capture royalties from the trading volume that was happening. The Monkey DAO tried to buy the IP rights from the old devs, and the devs either drug it out and Monkey DAO couldn't come to a firm negotiation with them. So what happened after that? HGE seemingly came out of nowhere and brought the IP rights for Monkey DAO. Now Hades DAO and HGE was receiving all the royalties from any type of trade that was happening on Solana Monkey Business, even though Monkey DAO are the primary value adds to that project. This is why we saw a massive pullback. When that announcement was first released, the floor price ran up to 300. I think it broke an all-time high. Then we saw a massive pullback once AGE started saying, hey, we're going to start doing things, maybe potentially release a Gen 3, do ordinal monkey business. And it really threw Monkey DAO into disarray. Floor price dropped to 140, 150, and everybody's talking about this is the end of Monkey DAO. This is the end of Monkey DAO. All of a sudden, the founder of Galactic Geckos came out and said, hey, I'm willing to purchase Monkey DAO from Hades DAO and then just allow Monkey DAO to purchase it once they finish minting out the monkeys. Then Sol Casino came out and said, you know what, we'll purchase the IP rights for 1.5 million. And then all of a sudden, finally, HGE and NAM came to a deal that Hades DAO will finally sell the IP rights over to Monkey DAO. And this was why you saw a massive increase in the floor price. We're up like 70-80% off the lows, JS?
I think the low is like 120, so we're almost up 100%, dude.
Oh, yeah, man. I didn't catch that 120 bottom. I got that 140 bottom. And it brings back to the point of counter trading the timeline. You have to have enough conviction in your plays and enough confidence in what you're doing to be able to buy the FUD. And buying the FUD is not easy. It is probably one of the most difficult things. You going out there seeming like a madman, buying a project nobody else is. But if you do it, that's how you can really gain those multiples that you're looking for. I'm great that we're getting so many new monkeys in the community, but like 3-4 days ago, that price was 80 to 90% less than what it is today. And if you would have just had enough confidence or spent time in the community, you would have known Monkey DAO wasn't going anywhere. So it's really great to see. What do you think about this massive change about Monkey DAO being able to finally acquire the IP rights, JS?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Big Brain's just a giga Chad, right? He just posted a thread about the whole acquisition. Dude's just doing a 1 mil flash loan, 0% interest rate, just to acquire and then get the money back post-mint. What a Chad. Are you kidding me?
Dude,
Also,
dude's top tier, man.
Yeah, also shout out to Trap and the Geckos. I own a couple over there, and I think we're starting to see the value prop in NFTs go back to communities where like it originally lied, and people are like, oh, okay, not every NFT can have a community, and that's okay. I mean, not every NFT can have utility, and that's okay. And I think that's when NFTs are the most fun. So this purchase is kind of just an example of that, right? Like, because to be honest, Monkey DAO could have existed by itself, but it didn't feel right until they actually owned the IP. And
Yep.
now that it's happening, I don't really see them potentially stopping here. Like it's truly now that they have the IP, it's truly a CryptoPunk play.
Oh yeah, dude. It's like, and this was my most bullish case for Monkey DAO. While I wasn't that knowledgeable before I joined Monkey DAO about like all the intricacies and everything that was happening, I really after I got in and spent time in the DAO and learned what was going on, I'm like, oh man, this is rough. But if this community was able to survive from the devs rugging them to a lot of internal discourse over regulations and rules and how do you treat each other to this, I'm like, if this community can survive all of this, it's not going anywhere. And you're right, it does have CryptoPunk level, and the sky's the limit, man. I don't really think there's anything holding Monkey DAO back now that they finally have the IP rights, dude. I'm so bullish on like the future of Monkey DAO. I was beginning to think other community-based projects such as, Monkey Baby Business or Galactic Geckos could really overtake Monkey DAO because of this battle over the IP rights. But now that Monkey DAO has it, I think it's really solidified itself as Solana's #1 community, dude. What do you think about like the future of Monkey DAO? And do you think like the floor, like in terms of floor price increase, do you think there's other communities out there that are going to be able to rival Monkey DAO?
Yeah, I mean, I try not to be bag biased, but I definitely hold a lot of some of these community-based collections. Maybe I just won't say specific names, but I'd say particularly some of the OG collections that have, have displayed that they're willing to kind of go through the bear. And when you see a team that's committed, despite the lack of liquidity in the market, what are they going to do when the liquidity comes back? Just, the community is going to be even louder. So, yeah, I think it's a good time to start investing into these. Well, I don't want to say investing with the NFTs, but maybe a good time to start putting some bids out there. I will say I am a bit skeptical. Like I said at the beginning of the show, when the whole timeline's in confluence that, Solana's going to fucking 30.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be ranging from, well, I think we're going to be ranging from 18 to 25 for a very long time. I think, I think for a year even. I don't see us really getting out of this until the US really starts lowering rates. And I don't know when that is. And especially with the whole agenda against crypto, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of all ties in together.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Like, I'm not expecting Solana to break all-time highs or even reach $30 anytime in the near future, man. It's just honestly, right now, all I'm just thinking about is stacking as much SOL as possible at these levels. Like, if I can stack as much SOL as I can stack below 100 again, that's my goal, man. And I think NFTs is the perfect way to do that. And also community. And that leads back into the point that you made earlier. We're really starting to see a resurgence of these NFT-based community projects as community as utility. And when NFTs first came out, it was kind of like a meme. Like every project talked about they're going to have merch, community, and metaverse. But really, one of the most value adds to an NFT project is the community, man. Being able to network with people and meet people IRL and go to these events where you don't even have to pay for anything is top tier utility, in my opinion, and the best utility that you can get. Being in a global, and you guys know I move around a lot. So just being in a global environment and having a monkey and allows me to meet people wherever I'm going is something that would be really difficult to achieve without NFTs.
For sure. I think, the event's tomorrow, right? Tomorrow at 5 p.m. And
yeah, man.
I think just also being able to just put faces to people's names is a really, really cool time. I remember the first event I went in Vegas and just seeing everyone for the first time is like, it's eye-opening. These are real people behind the Twitter profiles and stuff. And honestly, events mark the top most of the time. And somehow we're running up leading into event again, but hopefully this time's different.
No, I agree, dog. Sorry, I just had an important text to message.
Okay.
No, I agree, man. I didn't know you were a monkey holder. You're a monkey holder, dude?
I'm not, but
okay.
You get around.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. So it'll be great to hang out with you at the event tomorrow then, man. I'm really looking forward to that. But all this Monkey DAO talk has led me into also thinking about the future of HadeSwap and HadesDAO. So for me, HadesDAO doesn't really have a lot going for it right now. They have one of their hugest value adds was having the IP rights for Solana Monkey business, and being able to control that essentially gave value to the project. But without that, I don't really see a long-term vision for ABC or HadesDAO, man. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, right? It's like the longer term vision seems to be kind of going away because of just Tensor existing and the
Mm-hmm.
UI being so much easier. And really, the whole value capture was in the whole AMM model. And
Mm-hmm.
without proper use, then what is the move now? And I guess it's this Midas thing, but you know, call me crazy. I don't believe in an NFT backed stablecoin.
Yo, speaking of that, I was just going to get into it. Yeah, I don't believe in an NFT backed stablecoin either, man. And that was the next subject we were going to touch on. I don't mind innovation. I'm all for innovation, all doing something cool. However, when you have a product such as Midas and saying, oh, we're going to use NFTs to back this thing, how can you take one of the most volatile assets on the market and to use it to back a stable coin? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Some of the value, because I put out a tweet about it saying, hey, I really don't think, like, why would you go to Midas to take out liquidity on your NFTs instead of going to a platform like Sharkify? And we had multiple people, including HGE, reply was like, oh, well, you can get 30% of the floor price. You can take, these loans are no interest, so you can keep them as long as you want, and there's no end date. But in my opinion, the whole reason that people take loans on NFTs is because they want to either use it for trading, so they want to get as much value as possible from taking the loan out on the NFT so they can capitalize off trading volumes on other projects, and to use it to prevent against downside. If you can only take out 30% of a loan, how is that going to be a hedge against any type of downside?
Yeah, and I think if you're just gonna loan out, why not just use Sharky? Like conceptually, this is Midas seems like some type of middle ground that doesn't actually seem to solve either problem, right? Because the whole point from lenders on Sharkify is that they're getting decent APY, and they're willing to deal with the downside risk of people being underwater and liquidated. Versus, it's like, are you really helping either side with not as high APY for people providing liquidity there, and then uh, are you providing enough stability with the actual stablecoin for the people giving off NFTs? And I just don't see it.
Yeah, neither do I, man. Neither do I. And I don't want to say I'm bearish on like HadesDAO or whatnot, but it's just they need something to add value. Like they need something to they need their coin to be used for something. They need ABC to be used for something, because right now it's just slowly bleeding out.
That
And
being
once
said,
again,
that being said, I just looked on Jupiter. You can do around 50,000 worth of Midas to get 50,000 USDC, but other than that, past that liquidity, you start to see some real slippage. And
yeah.
50,000 float for a token at for a stable coin, scary, very
Oh yeah,
scary.
dude. I mean, a lot of people involved in NFTs don't really understand the DeFi aspect and what slippage is and how that can affect their pockets. When HateSwap first came out, somebody brought one Hades token for like what, I think over $250,000 or something ridiculous like that, man.
Yeah, so the EVM bots were out there again, hunting these people down, and I think uh, that's a little different. I think in terms of like slippage, because EVM kind of just takes advantage of the poor market makers, but
Yeah.
realistically, that there was insane slippage just because, not to the extent of 250,000 for one token, but people were paying, easily 10 to 20% market price depending on how
Yeah.
much volume they were buying.
Yeah, I do want to hit on real quick regarding like the Sharkify versus Midas, and me critiquing Midas and HadesDAO and HadeSwap is not saying that they won't do well in the future. It's just giving my opinion on what's going on. So if you have hefty bags in ABC and you're a big bag holder of HadesDAO, I'm not talking bad about your bags. I'm just giving an analysis on them. Like even with MonkeyDAO, I've been a MonkeyDAO holder throughout this entire time, and I was the first one to say, man, this hard times here. So it's just being pragmatic and not having hopium. And going back to HadesDAO, somebody gave me a good perspective. Just because the amount of liquidity that you have changes your risk tolerance and a whole bunch of various other aspects. So one person was excited for Midas because they're like, oh, I don't have to pay interest, and Sharkify's interest rates are way too high for me. And in my opinion, I'm thinking, Sharky, even people though say it's high. Honestly, taking out a loan on an SMB at like 250 floor, you only have to pay 15 to 20 SOL back. That for me is like a great deal. Not only because it hedges against volatility, but you're getting 80 to 90% LTV on that loan. But for a lot of people, man, I guess for a lot of people, 15 SOL or some of the rates on Sharkify are a bit absorbent.
Yeah, I think I think if you look at the ratio of lenders to borrowers on Sharkify, it's like around 1 to 10, one lender to 10 borrowers. And then I think actual NFTs, it's even more. But I think like the lenders, I feel like most lenders on Sharkify don't actually sell their NFTs unless it's some rev share play. Because like if you remember Dualbots when they kind of went underwater and stuff, that was a scary situation. But if you saw how it kind of worked with Klanos, they just recently went so-called underwater. I'm saying that in quotes, right? Because technically the floor went under what the loans were at. Yeah, but you know, there's always narratives behind NFTs, and I think it's very important to pay attention to those narratives. And as someone who's previously lended, I only lend, on collections that have, I think, some future narrative that I'm willing to basically pay a little over floor in case they fall underwater. And otherwise, I'm just trying to multiply my soul.
Yeah, man. For me, I don't really do too much lending, especially not on 2-week collections, just because I find 2 weeks is a long time in the crypto space, man. And if you're putting out loans when the market's hot, I think that's a terrible time to be putting out loans because it's likely to drop below the loan value that you put out. We saw this. I keep bringing up SMB as an example, but it's a good one. Even Klanos. SMB ran up to that 300 SOL floor. People were putting out loans for 250, 260. And I'm like, yo, what are you guys doing? It's just like broke new all-time high. Like, chill a little bit. Yep. Even with Klanos, when Klanos ran up to close to 100, if not breaking it, people were putting out 90 SOL offers on Klanos. And I think like 70, 80% of loans on Klanos were underwater at one point. But then everybody decided to pay them back because, those future narrative and catalysts that they had coming.
But, yeah, I think back to like the whole LTV thing. One strategy I did used to use back when the NFT market was dead, right? And we were kind of unsure about Sol, but kind of collections hit their bottom and there was not much more downside. One thing that I did was I loaned out against NFTs, shorted the same amount of Sol, so I had no Sol risk. And because the NFT downside exposure in my eyes was very, very low, just kind of stack some money that way and then use the extra money to buy some SOL at the end. So I think there are some definitely interesting ways you can use lending platforms, but obviously there's ways that you can get completely screwed as well.
Yeah, man. That's a great loan strategy that you just mentioned, and I know Manny did a lot of similar loan strategies, or continues to do a lot of similar loan strategies in the past. Honestly, man, that stuff's too big brain for me. And then, like, if the market goes one way that you're not expecting, you get wrecked. I learned my lesson about like leveraging coins, or mostly coins, because you couldn't really do NFTs about a year ago, or 2 years ago now. Jesus. I learned my lesson the hard way, and I lost a lot trying to do leveraging. So I don't even dabble that anymore. But if you're good at it, you can definitely capitalize off of these opportunities.
For sure. I think it's very important to set your risk parameters, and whatever is kind of in play, be ready to lose it all, especially if you're doing risky strategies like that. But I think for the most part, over the course of the next 6 months, we'll see LTVs kind of go down to, I think, 60%.
Which is kind
good. Yeah, I think lower LTVs, it usually means that there's more room to run on the NFT market, because when volatility is high, LTV is lower. And if in general volatility is high, then likely is that people are just trading a lot faster, not holding, and that leads to lower LTV. So hopefully we kind of see that over the course of the next few months, and people have less risk tolerance when it comes to lending. But should be cool.
Yeah, man. So as much fun as this lending talk is, I had a topic that's even more funny to talk about, and that's Claynosaurs, man. I don't think we can have a episode of RareFUD without talking about Claynosaurs, dude. There's so much going on in that ecosystem that I'm excited for. First off, JS, are you going to be at the Claynosaurs party?
Yes, sir. I have.
Yay! Burr, 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 burr.
I don't have my ticket yet. I was on the list, wondering when that's going to get airdropped. But
Yeah, I don't have mine either.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
And apparently, I'm playing the game. They messaged me saying we might do some live streams of the game over there. I'll see what we can pull off. But dude, I'm getting my ass kicked. I gotta get back to the grind.
Yeah, dude, I know you were like #1 in the Claynosaurs game for a while, right?
Yeah, so I was #1 for a bit. I had just like last week, last Thursday, I had hit 8K basically on the show, and then right after somebody got like 9K, and then now the score is at 28K. So
That's insane, dude.
I'm
I can
not sure
barely
if I'm
make it past 3K.
yeah, I don't know if I'm tapping out or not, but my high score right now is around 15, so I'll just maybe try to beat that.
Are they going to have like a live event of people playing at the
That
Claynosaurs party?
I think they're thinking of doing something like that.
Dude, that'd
So
be pretty awesome, man.
it'll be cool. Let's see how coherent I am. That's 7. And we got a couple events before then, but
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
Hey, man, after a couple drinks, you might actually be in your flow state, dude. I find after I have like a couple beers or glasses of alcohol, dog, and I play some video games or some card games, I'm like in the zone.
Yeah. Gotta get relaxed a little bit, ease off the pressure, and then
Yeah.
you're ready to perform.
So, speaking of the Clano event, man, did you see the thread about the booster packs that are coming out?
Yeah, I did. So
Dude,
I
yeah,
was
go ahead.
originally I was concerned that because one of the prizes was like some whitelist, right? And I was like, oh, you won't even get a pizza. You can just get this whitelist and that's
Yep.
it. And I'm happy that at least everyone's basically getting 40
Yeah.
soul when they walk in.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think,
And
yeah, go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was going to say, for the audience, in case you don't know what's going to be in the Clanosaurus packs, there's going to be a total of 620 packs in existence at NFT in New York, but only 500 are going to be given out during the Clanosaurus event. So that 120 will be giving out at other events. I know, or at least I've heard rumors that the Monkey DAO event will be giving out some Clanosaurus packs. So I'm excited there to have the opportunity to snag one if I'm lucky enough. And each, as JS just said, each pack will contain a pizza. So you're looking at minimum 40 soul. And at these prices, how much is that? Like a couple, almost a grand, close to it. So almost practically paid for your New York trip if you could get in there to the party. And
You're
then,
selling? What do you mean,
me?
man?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no,
I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah. Look, I'll be transparent. I will sell my pizza probably when closer to the time of armor comes out. I brought another. So what happened with croissants? Croissants came out for France. They dropped down to like 40-ish, 50-ish. Picked one up, sold it at 80 during the last pump, bought back in around 50, and plan on selling again for 2x of that. Because what happens? This market is so short-sighted, dude. All you need is a little patience. That's it. When everybody's not talking about it or looking at it, that's when the time to buy. Armor is coming. As soon as armor comes, people are going to want rare armor. Guess what you need rare armor for? Croissants, pizza, tacos. Boom. It's the easiest play in my opinion. So I'm just sitting on that right now.
I'll tell
Go
you,
ahead.
one of my plays that I'm doing is I'm stacking up on clays. I have around 23 right now. Let me check. I have 23 right now. Realistically, I think I'm going to try to get to 100, and I think there's just too much too much demand for these to not just go up. Even listings right now, they're at like 1,000 for a 30,000 collection. So that's like what, 5-6%. 6% listed on a 30,000% on a 30,000 supply collection is crazy. So it just tells you people are diamond handing, and there's no catalyst. Like the date hasn't been announced for the catalyst yet. So it'll be pretty cool. Only thing that we've used them for is just these sardinias yesterday, right? So we'll see how the rest plays out.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about the sardinias and how that went over?
Yeah, sure. So actually, I have a couple questions for you too, because why did these people need to even do like this whole Sardinius thing, right? I get that the egg is going to reveal, but why not just kind of like hold it where it's like a tube type of thing? What was the incentive to do it like right now, or is this kind of close off after a certain point?
Oh, I honestly, dude, I don't know much details behind how the Sardinia mint worked, but do you have like an option on if you want to change your Sardinia to an egg? And if you don't, is it a limited time thing?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if it's a limited time, and I think that's what it must be. But the mint goes where you use a clay maker, you use your Sardinia pack, and you use one clay, and you have to pay 1.69 sol. Um, and then it gives you the egg. So I think I'm assuming that if there wasn't no time limit, if there wasn't any time limit, people would just not mint them. But I'm not sure if it's just going to be a tube situation and people kind of just hold these Sardinias forever. Would be kind of cool. Um, but yeah, I've heard great things about the site. I didn't have a Sardinia myself, so I didn't get to mint. But from the videos I've seen, it seemed extremely smooth, and I always love to see when UI and UX is clean for an NFT project.
Yeah, same here, man. I think sorry about the banging, guys.
Barely noticed them,
Regarding
honestly.
Oh, really? That's great. I'm just super glad to hear that, dude, because I hear it pretty damn loud. I think the Clanosaurus team does one thing good: not only marketing, but understanding and try to incorporate a deflationary aspect into all of these airdrops. And I think that's very, very important for them, not only to help maintain their value, but increase it. So while with Sardinians, if it is a limited time period, it's unfortunate that those people lost 400 SOL. I think that's the floor price of those things right now. But at the same time, it makes the pterodactyls or sky chickens that much more valuable.
Yeah, I think on reveal they're going to see a pretty big dump. Not gonna lie, but
Oh yeah.
I will be buying one of those dumps. I think that
Mm-hmm.
I think there's gonna be like a kind of rarity moment where kind of with DeGods, right? The apes, where they just suddenly went from a floor trait to just nuked. I think they're like almost
Yep.
2 to 3x floor now. And I think it's gonna be very similar where people are just kind of offloading if they didn't get like a super rare, and then supply is just gonna crunch like crazy just because I think there's only 500, right? So there's only
Yeah, yeah,
500.
super. I think 400, man. I think the supply is like super limited.
So I think there's gonna be some paper hands there, and I'll try to catch one at maybe 200 is my number.
Yeah, so and that's one thing I love about Klanos, and once again, is that they trickle things out into the ecosystem. So while they have they have so much going on, it doesn't feel overwhelming and confusing as other ecosystem has in the past. And I'm going to use Tile as an example. Tile has far less in their ecosystem, but was drastically more confusing. And I just think that has to do with the Klanosaur's ability to communicate what each item is going to be used for.
Yeah, and I think the gamification and like there's a balance to gamification and overcomplication. And I think with Teo, they kind of pushed the line a little bit too much where even me, who's full-time Web3, very integrated in the NFT ecosystem, doesn't actually understand all of Tao's mechanics. And I think
Yeah, dog.
I think it's a mix of poor marketing plus overcomplication. Because if it's simple, you don't need the marketing side. But if it's once it has a kind of couple steps to it, you need to be able to, say it cleanly. And I think they had a cool idea, but as we're seeing over and over
Yep.
again, execution is gospel. If you mess
Mm-hmm,
up,
mm-hmm.
you get punished.
Yeah, well said, man. Well said. I want to take it back to Klanosaurus packs, though. I know we talked about every pack gets a pizza, but there's a lot of other cool things that are coming in these packs. It's been said that 18 of the packs will have artifacts, and these artifacts are created are custom one of one Klanos that you can get from artists such as Joy Lu, the artist behind Pop Heads, Xenom, and Gossip Goblin. So you'll have to burn a Klanosaur to enable to get one of these rare custom Klanos. They also have spray cans that'll be your way in which you'll be able to redeem a legendary Klano for. On top of that, they also have prizes which you can get a Ute, an Atari, a Solana phone, plus a whole bunch of other more stuff, man. I really like how they just went beyond just doing airdrops in their ecosystem to airdrops of other various ecosystems and cool IRL stuff as well. If what are one of the items that you're hoping to get most out of these packs?
Listen, everyone knows the number one prize is the Xenom spray can. Art's kind of my thing, so I can talk a little bit more about this. So
Please.
You have Xenom, who his Genesis collection is Monster Friends. Extremely simple, but Xenom is an extremely talented pixel artist. I'd say number 2 on Solana next to RGB, and I think uh, when we talk about art and having some network and allure to it, he embodies that. Extremely professional, extremely friendly, and understands how to gamify community. And I think Klano was extremely smart to include him. Then you have Joyce, who she was the artist of Pop Heads, but more notably Critters. Not Critters Cult. It's a different one of one.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
And if you talk to any serious one of one art collector, they have a critter. It's just they have one. And she also does some work on Super Rare on each side of
What's
things.
the floor price on those now?
There was just an auction last week. I think it was 80 Sol.
Seems about right.
Yeah. Then you have Gossip Goblin, who did the art for Geckos. So instant legend. Cool guy. One of my favorites, and I think not talked about enough, is Duke, late Duke. So he has this one of one collection called Eggman's. I think the floor on those is like 150, maybe even higher. They're animated kind of heads with no music, but extremely unique. And I think what's really cool with what Klano's doing is that they're finding like extremely unique artists and not just ones that, yes, they're well known, but there seems to be some kind of thought behind it. It's not just let's just pick the top artist. Let's kind of build a theme and have some varied styles. Then you have Ben Bocho, who I actually don't know the name of his Genesis collection, but his work is phenomenal. If you're into comic book and anime type of style art, his work is exactly down your style. And then lastly, you have Mr. Urakami, who is extremely new to the one of one scene. And the reason why he got recognition and this Klana airdrop is that he had an open edition featuring basically all the one of one artists on Solana, which was fantastic.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that one. That thing was gorgeous.
So Klano, reached out to Bone, and I'm super happy that he's getting this opportunity. So, I love to see this one of one art kind of collaboration on the generative side of things. I think the one of one art scene on Solana is extremely underrated, and
Yeah.
Despite me having a lot of bags there, I feel like I'm underexposed on a daily basis still. So, dude, I think once we get a bit more kind of integration with one of one art into generative art, it's gonna go crazy.
Yeah, man, I agree with you on that, and I agree. Also agree that I'm starting to be more focused on community collections and one of one art collections. Like the most bull case for me on NFTs are just being part of a top tier community and also having some of these very early on Web3 artists eventually break off and become big in Web2, even though some of them already have established their names and continue to do so. So I'm really looking forward to pick up more one of one pieces from people like Joyce and Sleeper. That's my next goal, is to pick up one of his pieces.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, Sleeper's stuff is absolutely gorgeous, man. And dude knows what he's doing in terms of auctioning, in terms of pacing on how he's releasing it, and just overall art direction. But my question to you, I feel like there's such a huge level of gamification going on with these packs because you have the opportunity or the chance to get some of these super rare drops. Now the question is, do you hold these drops or do you sell them? What would you do if you got, I don't know, let's say a spray can during NFT New York?
Listen, I'm a collector, but I'm not at a collector position to say I can basically hold $15,000 worth of a piece and sleep well at night. Everyone is in this space for two reasons: one, make money, and two, make friends. And there's a balance to both. And I think when there's something at like that price level, that there's a liquidity aspect to this. It's very hard to sell one of those things, and I would rather legit sell that and buy 8 Klanos off the floor, 9 Klanos off the floor,
all
and
day,
and feel very comfortable with myself by doing that. I do splurge time to time like this slime, right? But I think there's a much larger picture when it comes to the slime.
There's a difference, man. Rarities on a one of one collection with one artist, and rarities in a generative collection are like night and day. So I wouldn't even Yeah, I would be more comfortable holding a 15,000 one of one instead of a legendary and a generative collection.
Agreed.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you, dog. I hope I get a legendary spray can, and if I do, I will sell it and probably buy another golden clay maker.
Dude,
um,
you bought the bottom on those.
I
I
did.
did you? I think you did, right?
Yeah, no. I didn't buy the bottom. I think they dropped low as 90 during like the pullback afters. I got mine at 150.
Dude, you're still chilling with that one.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it, and I think actually more than the clay maker, I think the clay is going to be interesting too, because the clay does not have a cooldown, and
Yeah. Hmm.
that can just be repeated over and over again, right? Because uh,
The golden clay.
yes,
Okay. Yeah.
so I think the golden clay might have a higher value prop than the clay maker. So if I see a golden clay for 200 ish, I'd
You're
be very
swooping it.
interested. Yeah, I'm very interested in picking that one up.
Yeah, so I picked my golden clay maker up for 150 and I'm like, oh, I'm going for a 2x on this. But then I'm like, once I got more information on the ecosystem, I'm like, no, dude, these are gonna absolutely cook in the future, man. So I'm thinking about selling mine around that 5 to 600 area. I really think the golden ones will pump once all these different mechanics begin to roll out, man. I really think they're going to pump hard. So hopefully I can sell one of those, sell my golden for the price that I want. And if I do, you'll know I did because I'll tweet it out and I'll be picking up a sleeper piece immediately after.
Yep. I think if you need help buying that sleeper piece, I'll hook you up with some people that I know who are selling.
Okay, cool.
And then back to like just the gamification side of things. Joe talks about it all the time. I feel like his favorite phrase is delayed gratification, and I think you're really going to see that out of these clay makers and clays down the line, maybe in a
Yep.
month or two.
Yep. I'm glad that you brought up delayed gratification, man. It's just one of those things that people don't have in this space, that you can really find your edge in your niche if you can wait 2 to 3 months or something. I've had people reach out to me like, oh, can you teach me how to trade? Can you teach me how to trade? And like, first of all, just watch RareFUD every Tuesday, Thursday at 2 p.m. EST, and I tell you everything I'm doing there. And also just check out our shorts. But on top of that, I'm not some active trader. I don't trade stuff on a daily basis because I have a Web2 job I have to do. I have Web3 work I have to do. And even though I'm involved in the market, I don't have time to read sentiments of new mints that are coming out. If I get a whitelist to a mint, I'm probably flipping it, and then I'll just buy back in later, even if it's at a higher price. I don't care about that. So it's important for you out there to find your edge, find what works for you. And don't think that you have to copy trade somebody in order to be successful. There's many of avenues that you can make money in this space, whether that be through loans, whether that be through whitelist flipping, whether that be through short-term trading, long-term trading. It's up for you to try all these different styles out and find out what's best for you.
Yeah, and I think with PNFTs kind of coming in, short-term trading is going to be a little more difficult over the course of the next kind of couple of months because the liquidity isn't that great. But like for example, gosh, I'm having Toonies, that's what it was. Toonies didn't do they did have PNFTs, right? And you saw kind of how they pushed pre-reveal and then kind of done post-reveal. And I think that gamification wasn't done as best as possible. But then you see Wolf Cap with no royalties enforced. And I think it'll be interesting to see what collections come out with no PNFTs versus PNFTs over the course of the next month, because locking in royalties is a huge deal. But the price action we've been seeing on Wolf Cap, I think, is a large part of that due to the fact that they don't have PNFTs.
Yeah, I'm along the lines in terms of royalties. If you want to be active and participate in the community and derive value from that, you got to pay royalties. If you don't want to do that and you just want to go trade, you don't need to pay royalties. So my thing is, I should think collections should let individuals decide if they want to pay royalties or not.
I kind of like the gamification that Bundle's doing, where like if you pay royalties, you're eligible for like premium things, whether it be an airdrop or some other stuff.
That's cool.
That being said, I know a lot of collections don't really plan on doing airdrops and stuff, and I'm completely okay with them doing PNFTs. I think going as high as 7.7% like Soul Casino is a bit much. I'd like to see
ridiculous.
Yeah, I'd like to see royalties kind of be in the 4 to 5 range. I get that. um, even lower depending on kind of what your service is. But
Mhm.
I would say 4 to 5% is a good sweet spot, and as long as you kind of stay reasonable as a team, I think it shouldn't be a problem.
And for me also, I don't mind paying royalties because like I'm not, like you said again, I'm not a short-term trader. So anytime I pick up a project, I'm picking it up because I believe in the team. So I'm always paying royalties regardless.
You just get your get the other side to pay royalties for you. Put collection bids on Tensor, and
I know, right?
they eat it up, and then back when you sell,
That's funny.
the buyer pays it too. So look, I'm all about royalties. I don't pay them though, but I support them.
Let's go, JS. I like for on my one of one stuff. I feel even more responsible for
Oh,
paying
for sure.
royalties because it's a closer relationship with the artist and that's their livelihood and things like that. So I definitely don't mind paying there. Also, JS, a quick side note on one of one stuff. Do you know low fronts, man?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, dude, do you have a low front?
I do not. So for me in the one of one scene, um, I tend to try to find projects that are on the burst of breaking out. And then I have a kind of separate section of grails I'll just hold for years and years and years. So something like back when Soul was at 12, $13, I bought a lot of my art then. I bought my sleeper then,
Yeah.
I bought my monster friend, I
Oh,
bought my
damn,
hoodlum
big
then.
brain.
And it was a different reason back then. For me, it was like, okay, um, art does not have as much upside as, let's say, just holding Soul or some NFTs, but it has so much less downside.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I'm
Yep. Yep.
comfortable
Yep.
buying at these prices. And if Soul kind of, doubles and goes back to 20, I should see relatively, a 200% gain. And
Yep.
I think fortunately I've seen, the list price uh on my the pieces that I've bought are roughly around that price. So captured most of the upside while limiting my downside a lot. And I think that's something I always take into consideration when I'm trading or buying anything. That what is the complete downside to this? If something goes so liquid that I have to sell it, what can I get for it? And
Yep. Yep.
that's something that you kind of have to consider with one-on-one art, where you don't really have to consider that on the gender side of things because there's collection bids and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So
One of one
um,
artist, super freaking illiquid, dog. Jesus, it don't move a lot.
most deals don't happen on the marketplace for high end NFTs. You actually have to know the person,
Yeah.
and I think selling something to basically an unknown buyer is tough. And I'll tell you, exchange has really high fees on secondary things, 2.5%. Um,
That's
so
crazy, dog.
so it's tough to kind of just keep all this stuff in check. So yes, I always pay royalties on the one-on-one art side of things, and I think finding the other party to your transaction is a skill in the one-on-one art scene.
Yeah, yeah. That's why whenever I pick up these pieces, the one of one pieces, it's definitely a like 6 months to a year time horizon. It's not anything super close. I mean, with me with low fronts, I I'm bullish on Edo and Soul Boy. They're really talented artists. I personally love music based NFTs. And what they're doing is very unique and really trying to build out a narrative around these low fronts. But I honestly just purchased it because I like it, man. I really
Yeah,
wanted a low front and I really wanted a custom low front. So I'm like, I was bidding on a piece and that piece ran up to like 72 soul. And I'm like, no way, dog. I'm just gonna purchase the one of one custom for 100 soul. Why try to keep running this up?
I feel you there. I mean, there's a portion of my portfolio that is just, oh, I like the art, so I bought it.
Yep.
Um, and I think it's important to have both because in you have to support the artist too, right? And if everyone's just doing this to make some money, the scene gets very dry and it becomes more like a
Yep.
gender side of things.
Yep.
And I think that's the most fun about the one-on-one art scene. Like the
Mm-hmm,
event I'm
mm-hmm.
looking forward to the most actually in NYC is the JT List Art Gallery. It's not the Plano event because
When is that?
so that's on Thursday at 5. So I'm going all the way uptown and then coming back downtown for the Plano event. And I think something okay, here's a trick for people trying to learn to network. This is what I did when I was first starting out. You have to take interest in buying a one-of-one art piece that's rather expensive from somebody that you want to talk to,
Mm-hmm.
and Because oftentimes the people in the one-on-one art scene have made their money elsewhere.
Yeah.
And it's very important to, if you want to network, get to know those people. And that for me was a huge realization in terms of basically getting up the next step in the ladder in the Sol ecosystem in terms of just understanding what's happening and connecting. So I would say understanding the one-on-one art scene is a huge plus on the networking side.
Yeah. Also, the thing is, so one thing I like and hate about this space is that people are like, oh, your PFP shouldn't matter, your PFP shouldn't matter. But in the sense of it should matter too. I do believe that anybody coming into this space can provide value, but people with certain PFPs show, A, they have a certain amount of liquidity, they have a certain amount of experience in this space, they have a certain amount of connections. And my tip for networking, which I have to say, I've been networking Web2 networking events, and it's the most cringiest thing. So one thing that I learned from those is never do what I did at Web2 networking events and just be myself. And don't talk to people because you want to learn from them or try to get money from them or use them for a certain point, because that comes across. Certain people might be open to it, but from my experience, a lot of people haven't. I've met from Miami, was my first Web3 event, made a ton of connections. You know why? Partying, drinking with them, and getting to know them as people. And that's how I made the best connection with people in this space. I don't care what you hold. I don't care if you're a Boogle. I don't care if you're just new to this space. I will kick it with you as long as you're cool to chill with. But if I don't vibe with you, that's how my network it is. It's like I go off gut feeling. If I vibe with you, we're cool. If I don't care what community you are. I don't care who you work for. I don't care none about that, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think looking at somebody's PFP and just saying, "Oh, if they're not working with," is a very big mistake.
Yes.
Um,
Yep. Yes, it is.
like I had a DGOT at one point, right? Back when I minted it, and people just viewed me higher just because I had one, and
Yeah.
I don't
Yep.
think that's a healthy thing for the
No, it's not.
space.
No, it's not.
And I'll tell you, at certain points, 90% of my overall crypto portfolio was in that DGOT, and people
Mm-hmm.
talk to me like I had hundreds of thousands of dollars, and
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
just not the case. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very important to actually just hear people out and talk to them, and you can understand so much from somebody so unsuspecting.
Yep. Yeah, but I think people, and going back to it, is like people are willing to talk to you and teach you and help you out if you genuinely connect with them. But if you go up to them with that sole purpose of, oh, do this for me or do X, Y, and Z for me, I think people are less open to that instead of building genuine relationships. And I agree with you on the PFP aspect of things. When I had my Cyber Samurai PFP for Jesus Christ, for like months at a time, until I finally brought my monkey, and then I switched over to that, and then my clout just automatically went through the roof. And I'm like, yo, it's like my liquidity didn't change significantly, or the takes that I had didn't freaking change from my Cyber Samurai to my SMB.
Yeah, for sure. Um, but I think that does tell you a lot about the current state of the space, and I guess that's something to monitor over the course of the next couple months in the year.
Yeah. Well, you know what? JS is getting close to the ending time, man. And before we get out of here, I want to drop some alpha. So, what do you have any alpha for anybody?
Events usually mark the local top. Um, Despite that, I'm not really selling anything off, but I'm not buying anything either. I think a very important position to play in the market is abstain and understand when the time is right and just wait for your entries. We've seen a lot of run ups in these community based NFTs. And I think the only ones that have room to run or go down a lot is OK Bears after
Yeah,
tomorrow's
dog.
or after Thursday's announcement. It depends on kind of what that is. You know, I've heard rumors from Red Bull to Nintendo, and I've heard rumors that it's another nothing burger, right? So it's like, you know, depending on what the actual announcement is, then, you know, they'll run or they'll dump. But I don't like playing just 50-50 uh, trades like that where you're just betting on the positive outcome. It seems like it's almost like playing earnings with stocks and stuff, and it's like you just want to hear what they have to say before buying something. So uh, let's say it's Nintendo, right? And you just buy right after, then that's cool. But say it's nothing and it dumps, it's hurtful. So I'm just abstaining right now.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that one, man. As you said, events usually mark the local top. I'm selling off some stuff just because I brought my Ordinal Maxi business, and that I like to have a certain amount of liquidity in Sol, and I had to use a significant portion of that to buy an Ordinal Maxi business. So I'm selling off some stuff just to get back to my, my baseline where I like to stay liquid at, and just due to market volatility in terms of price of Sol, and also, life happens. Sometimes you need liquidity for personal life events. So I always like to have that stack aside. But with that being said, the things that I am looking out for, I know it's kind of boring. We hit on it earlier, but things in the Cleanosaur ecosystem, man, I just think is one of the easiest plays in my book. I probably wait after New York to pick up anything else. I'm sure we'll see run up of pizza during New York when people just immediately floor their stuff. But I'd really be looking for that, week to two period after New York where things are a bit calmer and we haven't got announcements, because once that next announcement comes out, it's going to pump. So yeah, man, that's all that I have. Anything else, JS?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'll just kind of echo that to end off the show. Buying when there's not enough attention, but there's a plan ahead, is a really good position to have. Like I know something with geckos, right? They're gonna do their fifth faction mint sometime in the near future, right? So I imagine closer to the mint, this runs up. Same thing with
Yeah.
DGods, right? I think I was on the show 2 weeks ago and I had said right before the ETH move, DGods are gonna run up like crazy. I was not thinking over 1,000, but they ran up more than what I was expecting. So I think there's obvious plays that just people realize at the time, and the FOMO catches up to them. So when you see these announcements ahead of time, just be prepared to buy, and then also know what your exit is.
Yep. Well said, man. Well said. And you know what? I guess we'll end off the show on that note. JS, I really appreciate you being here today, dog. Co-hosting with you has definitely been enjoyable, and you'll be around a lot more in the future. So I'm glad the RareFUD audience enjoys you. Also, huge shout out to our RareFUD audience for tuning in with us every Tuesday, Thursday at 2 p.m. EST. Also, thank you for everybody for watching the shorts and just overall supporting us. Bison and I will be in New York. I'll be in there tomorrow. Bison's there today, but we're trying to have a RareFUD meetup on either Thursday or Friday. So if you guys can come to that, we'd love to have you there. Also, we'll be having a Cyber Samurai event at a ramen sushi restaurant. So if you want to come by and kick it there with us, please just pick up a Cyber Samurai and you'll get free food and something pretty cool. I can't tell you what it is, but that as well. Lastly, Piece of Alpha, a lot of stuff is coming up with Cyber Samurai. I am the Chief Operations Officer of Cyber Samurai, so at least having 1 to 2 is not a bad idea. Anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode of RareFUD Radio, and I'll catch you